my neck and the brown person standing on the stage, we have a Hawaiian in the building. How many of you, guys, show of hands, how many of you have been to the islands? Do that. How many of you would like to go to the islands? Okay, not everybody's hand is all the way up yet. How many of you can spell island? Okay, good. As long as we're all on the same page here, okay? Because that's what we want to do. One of the things that we do in the islands is we cut everything short. Okay? You guys talk about and deal with energy efficiency. For us in the island, it's everything efficient. So we like to cut everything short. Like when you guys go to the island, some of you may say, hey everybody, let's go to Waikiki. For us, simple. We go Wikes. While you guys are walking around inside of the show, you guys may be meeting people, hey, how are you doing today? For us as islanders, we just say, how's it? Simple. So can we all, at the count of three, let's all just say, how's it? 1, 2, 3, how's it? Congratulations, you're all officially uneducated. But what we as islanders may not have in education, we make up for with ingenuity and good looks. I've been told I possess one of the two, and by the end of this presentation, you guys hopefully will be able to tell which one it is. And when you do, please tell my wife. Before I begin any of my talks, speeches, trainings, meetings, or whatnot, I have a tradition. Would you guys be all willing to help me in this tradition? So it's called POFO, or positive focus. Told you we cut everything short. Okay? So POFO means, by a raise of hands, how many of you have had a positive experience at SPI? Okay, not everybody's up there, we're not there yet. How many of you would like a positive experience at SPI? Okay, good. So I'd like you guys to think about what happened during this positive experience. Who was there? What was said? What was going around? What was the music? What was the noise? What was the conversations? What are the things that was happening to make this a positive experience? For those of you that haven't had a positive experience yet, what is it that you would like to have this positive experience happen to you? Who will you be talking to? What business will you be conducting? What education will you be learning? What new technologies will you be seeing? Now the reason why we do this is because negativity and positivity cannot occupy the same space. Negativity and creativity cannot occupy the same space. And I need everybody to make sure that we are positive and creative as we go into this time together. All right? Now the next thing I'd like to talk about is something that may not be so positive, and this is a real scenario. So I have a friend who works in California with us. He works down in Orange County, lives up in Bakersfield, and while he's in a meeting, he gets a call. And it's from his home. And how many of you guys get a call from home while you're at work? A lot, right? I know for me, whenever I get a call from home, I tend to usually answer. Because usually that means something's wrong, right? So my friend gets a call. He's talking a lot, arms moving a lot, talking really fast, which means something is either wrong or he's speaking Spanish, right? Clearly something's wrong. Gets on his way, packs up his stuff, and he now leaves. He starts his 2.5-hour drive back home because he gets a call from his mom. Because he's now in a situation in which they have been getting notices from the utility that they're going to start shutting off power. So my friend has a brother who's special needs. When the air quality goes bad, he suffers asthma attacks. When temperatures fall below 68 degrees or above 79 degrees, he has seizures. This is something that's very real for me. This is something that's going on all the time in California. And my friend is now having to rush back to help take care of his family. He's created an environment where the air quality and the temperature in his home is regulated so that his family can be comfortable and he doesn't have to worry about it, right? So for me, one of the things that makes me really worried is the fact that when his brother does have a seizure and goes into the hospital, many of us are thinking, well, at least he'll be getting the care that he needs. But this is what I found out. Every time he goes into the emergency room with a seizure, it takes off 1 year from his life. it's not the same for us. For us, when the power goes out, it's inconvenient. It sucks at worst. But for my friend, he loses a year with his brother. Now, I wish that this were just a story that I could go ahead and say, poof, the magic dragon is here and everything's all good again. But this is reality, okay? Because is there a solution that could help my friend out? Yeah, of course there is. It's called a microgrid, right? Many of us are in this industry, we understand what a microgrid is, right? It's just a set of generation assets, solar, CHP, wind, whatever that is, that generates power, tied into an energy storage system, tied into some sort of controls that give us the ability to make sure that we can island ourselves, right? But for my friend, this is a real scenario for him. There is no plug-and-play, islandable microgrids for homes. So he's now having to figure out how to create an opportunity to protect his family. So like I said, I wish that this were a story, but this is a real scenario. This is my friend. He's right back here. He's come all the way from California to be with us. Thank you for letting me share this story with our friends here. Okay? This is one of the reasons why we made sure that we not only took care of businesses with microgrids, but we've also created nanogrids for the homes. By a show of hands, how many of you guys service and worked in California? Okay, good. So many of you guys know that earlier this past year, the California Public Utilities Commission approved the first wildfire mitigation plan, which included and gave the ability for utilities to shut off the grid whenever there's a wildfire red flag warning, right? You guys know that, right? So whenever the winds are too high and all of the environment creates for the ability for wildfires to spread, the utilities now have the ability to shut off the power. So we know that because of this, when they black out an entire part of the grid, it upsets traffic lights, it will prevent power from going to police and fire departments. It would create havoc for the water pump systems, so our fire department has a difficult time trying to manage the fires, and it really messes up communications as it relates to being able to support and take care of all of our emergency responders, right? So all of this could really be taken care of with a microgrid, but there's challenges to get us to that point, right? How does this affect businesses? For those of us who have businesses, we could literally have a business 100 miles away from the wildfire, and if they shut off the grid, we're dead in the water. I can tell you, there's companies out here that sell DR Microgrids, and there's literally, the conversation is, when they shut off the grid, how long will your business continue to operate? It's that simple. Right? Because it's a true and real scenario for many of us that are out there in California. When we start to look at this, it's really happening. So another story about a friend of mine who's in PG&E territory. Okay? He has a business, and for the first time in 41 years, he's doing something different. Okay? What he's having to do was he had to change things around, and he went and installed an automatic transfer switch so that when he rents a generator to plug into his building, it'll continue to operate. Now I know I told him he needs a microgrid, but he's cheap. Okay? But that's not the point of the story. The story is this. The reason why he's doing this is because he said, AJ, I'm really concerned about my refrigerated products and my produce. Okay, I get it. But this is what his biggest concern was. I'm afraid that my insurance won't cover it. Now, many of us understand insurance, especially as it relates to business interruption insurance, right? We know what that is. But one of the things that people don't realize is that they write these insurance policies so that it is for events that can be preventable or qualified. So the fact that now you have warning that your power is going to get shut off, he's deathly afraid that his insurance will not cover it. He's got a small little grocery store. right? So that's kind of the realities that we're having to deal with. People are still trying to figure out how it is that we're able to kind of get through all of these different scenarios. Now, some of you guys may be saying, you know what, all you California people, you guys deal with that problem, don't worry about us, we're good, right? Okay? But the reality is, this is going all over the place, right? I mean, just a little while ago, 2 weeks ago, we had Hurricane Dorian, wiped out all of these craziness that down there, right? Just this past week, Humberto was coming through, you know, reaching through Florida, and this just happened, okay? My wife and I are from we live in Southern California. We're getting ready to fly out here for this wonderful conference, and I didn't know my in-laws, my mother-in-law lives in Food Heights, right here in beautiful Utah, okay? This right here is a view from our neighborhood. Right here in beautiful Utah. They almost got evacuated. My mother-in-law would have had to stay with me at my hotel. That would have been bad. For somebody. But this is going on right here, a mile away from their neighborhood. They almost have to evacuate because there's a fire going on. Luckily, there's a lot of prayers that was going around, and it rained that night and put out the fires, right? Well, welcome to Utah, right? So again, many of you guys may say, you know what, that's kind of, you know, going on here and there and there. It's sporadic. No, it's not. I mean, this stuff is real, okay? When we look at it, all throughout the United States, we've got major crises happening. Right here, since the 1980s, they've been tracking a lot of the events that have been going on. And these include storms, wildfires, freezes, you know, all of the craziness. But they've tracked the events that have created more than $1 billion in damage. In the 1980s, 28 events, right? 250 events have happened since 1980 that cost over $1 billion. Almost half of them were in this decade alone. Okay? So this right here is a real scenario, and one of the things that people don't realize, right, when we talk about events, it's events, right? But when we start associating those events with real dollars, that's when people start to listen. Okay? So when we look at it, these 28 events cost $172 billion. These events that happened since 2010, just this past decade, and this stopped in May, which means this number does not include Hurricane Dorian, Humberto, all of the craziness that's going on right now. So right now, that's $761 billion in damage. That's a real number, guys. They predict by the end of this year, we're looking at $1 trillion in damage. This is happening, okay? Now, when we look at this, we think, oh, okay, that's what's going on, but what about the fatalities, okay? The fatalities that we're looking at since 1980, you're looking at 1980 or 2,800 fatalities. And now, since 2010, 5,200 fatalities have gone. That's a lot. Okay? So it really creates a different scenario for us. But again, for those of you that are saying, again, I don't work in California. You know, the one thing that you can realize is that if you work in Florida, Texas, or North Carolina, you're talking about hurricanes, right? When you're talking about Nebraska, Kansas, or Iowa, you're talking about floods or droughts. Okay? And obviously in California, Montana, and other crazy people in Colorado, we're dealing with wildfires. So this is happening all throughout the United States. So when people start to look at us and say, well, you know, the problem is real. And believe me, there's no discrimination. Okay? It doesn't discriminate who we are and what we do, because this is a global phenomenon. Okay? So when we look at this, since the beginning of this year, the first 6 months of this year, 7 million people were displaced. 7 million. So far in 2019, and we've got a lot more left in 2019, they expect 22 million people to be displaced by the end of this year. So when we look through all of this, it really puts us in a scenario where we really need to be understanding of who this affects and how we can support it. This is a real statement. You know, 1 billion acres. of forests are at risk for fire. Okay, so demand response microgrid. This really puts us into where we are. Okay, demand response microgrids. As we talked about it, how many of you guys want to see metrics? Okay, because one of the things that I hate is when people talk about stuff but they don't give you the metrics. Right? We talk about, oh, okay, this is great, this is great. Oh, wait. How much does this cost? How about we put together a proposal? Come on, let's talk about this. Okay, so for those of you guys that are going to be here, we're hosting a microgrid power hour outside. When you guys walk around the Microgrid Theatre, you'll see some of the case studies that we've done. And I'm going to go over one of them, a couple of them right now. First job that we did, we're a startup. Okay? First job we did was a manufacturing plant in the city of Industry. Okay? They came to us and they said, hey, Joe, we've got solar already. Our whole roof, I mean, this roof is massive. They had a ton of solar, but guess what? They still had high utility bills. I think they're at like $12,000 to $15,000 a month in utility bills. And then he was also concerned because they had brownouts. He didn't care about blackouts. He's like, no, they're not going to shut off our power. We're sitting in industry. Nobody's going to shut off our power. Okay, but he's like, we got brownouts. And every time these brownouts come in where power gets disrupted, it's a little low, it's a lot, like this stuff happens, it actually upsets their equipment and he's got to buy new R&D equipment. So now he goes ahead and we said, let's go ahead and build a microgrid. So we went ahead and added to his power production with the CHP system, which gave him the resiliency and the extra power that he needed. We went ahead and put in battery storage to be able to give him the backup power, demand shaving and all of that stuff, and more importantly, allow him to tie into demand response. And then we put in AI controls, artificial intelligence that allow it to just continue to work and do good things. Now, here's the metrics. Okay, so it was actually, originally it was 90% offset, but we went in and did some energy efficiencies. Now we've got full offset. We went at, our gross cost for the job was $609,000. Okay, but when we took the incentives, when we're talking about incentives in California, we've got an SGIP rebate, which is the self-generation incentive program rebate. We have ITC, the tax credit. We also have MAPs, right? Depreciation. So we've got $250,000 of incentives, and we've got a net cost of $353,000. Guys, this is a 5-year payback. This is a 5-year payback. Now, I know everybody in this industry, most of them talk about paybacks. I don't like payback. What I like to look at is SIR. I like to look at the savings to investment ratio. And in this savings to investment ratio, payback talks about getting my money back, how quickly I get my money back. SIR, savings to investment ratio, talks about how many times I get my money back. So this is the example. If I've got a magic ATM machine, and for every dollar I put in, I get back $2.32, how much money would you put inside of this ATM machine? Every dollar I have and every dollar that comes out, right? So that's what we look at, okay? Another example that we look at is a winery. Okay, winery, right up here. They were the first LEED certified winery in the world. And they also had a solar farm, small little solar farm, totally wasn't enough. Totally wasn't. It was just, they continued to grow 9 years that they had this solar facility on, and it just wasn't enough. So they also were concerned about the wildfires. They're literally right in the heart of every week. He's getting notices from the utility saying, I've got to watch for my power. They're going to cut my power. And then now they're running all these things. So we went ahead and put in CHP, batteries, AI controls, as well as demand response, and then we were able to do this. Okay, so we've got $470,000 gross cost, incentive $283 net cost. Again, a 5-year payback. These are good. These are good metrics, right? How many of you guys think under a 7-year payback is decent? Under a 6-year payback is decent. 5 years is really attractive, right? I can tell you, we've got payback periods. Some of our projects under, I think it's 2.3 years. Okay? These are good numbers. So when we talk about demand response, I'm going to run through demand response. This is what makes us really good. Okay? We go ahead and take our microgrid, and instead of us traditionally responding to demand response, which is curtailment, where they ask you to shut off equipment, right? Because the grid is being used too much, so they ask you to shut off equipment, so they pay you for the curtailment. We don't curtail anything. Don't touch my building, you touch my batteries. Does that make sense? So when we build a microgrid, this microgrid gives you the ability to protect yourself. When they shut off the power, I'm idling myself. So why can't I do that in the normal times? When you need demand response, I'll go ahead, instead of me shutting off equipment, shutting off AC, shutting off lights, I idle my building and take the entire load. I maximize my incentives, I maximize the opportunity for me to make money. So, how many of you guys realize that California is producing too much power? So much power that we're actually paying Arizona to take it. Can you imagine that? They're literally curtailing their own renewables, and then they're paying another state to take our renewables. So we're in a pilot program with PG&E, excess supply program at DR, where they actually pay you to turn on equipment. You know what? I don't want to turn on equipment. Shove it in my batteries. That's the simple form. I'm going to give you an empty battery. It's a day-ahead notice. Tell me what you need, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure my renewables go to my building. My battery stays empty, so tomorrow when you call that excess supply DR, guess what? Shove it into my batteries. Oh, and by the way, don't forget to pay me for it. Guys, this is real, okay? We've patented our process. We have a full load offset demand response, negative load reduction demand response, and an excess supply demand response. This is real. This is stuff that we're going through. We came out with our new solution, DR Microgrids. This was something that we knew we needed because of my friend and all the other families out there that need their homes protected. So what we've done is we've taken our advanced microgrid and we've put it down into the residential level. We've created the opportunity for solar installers to go ahead and offer a nanogrid to their families that they're serving. It creates a better opportunity. Instead of them having to race down to the bottom, it allows them to be able to do things better for their customers. SIA has put out reports on all the challenges within the industry. They even talked about how the prediction of what the solar sales will look like, and it continues to go up and down because of what we all know as the ITC that's going to start to phase out. So now we look at ourselves and say, how do we do this? Okay? We're looking at a good, better, best solution. Solar plus batteries, but a lot of people don't realize solar plus batteries does not give you the ability to isolate yourself. If you don't have a microgrid or / a nanogrid, you cannot island yourself and you will get cut off. So all I know is that families like my friend are having to deal with this power issue. Every single one of you, as a business, as a consumer, as somebody that's serving those out in the community, is having to deal with the challenges that are present in our market. And all I say is that we need to demand responsible microgrids. I stand before you, honored and privileged to be here in this industry. And I've been fortunate enough to be a part of something that is really a necessity in our industry. I challenge each and every one of you guys, take up the mantle, go ahead and allow microgrids to really blanket everything that we're doing, every community that we touch, every family that we touch, because this is exactly what we need to protect families, businesses, as well as our own businesses as we continue. I invite all of you to please make sure you guys come and visit the Microgrid Theatre. Make sure you guys take a walk and talk to all of those that are in the microgrid area. Help them to understand what you're dealing with. Help us to understand how we can help, how we can create better solutions, how we can serve you so that you can serve your customers. We will be hosting a power hour right outside here. Drinks, refreshments, conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time. Thank you for all that you do for our industry.